parents. Welcome back to At Home Videos. This week is an important week. We're closing out our series called What You Think About Most, and this Wednesday we're going to be talking about sex. And we're going to be looking at, throughout Scripture, how God created sex, and He created it for a specific purpose and a specific context. And within that context that He designed it for, it is a good thing. But when we sin by taking it outside of that context and outside of its purpose and engage in sexual activity outside of a marriage relationship, it's going to bring about hurt, it's going to bring about pain in our lives. And so I want to encourage your students to look at the whole witness of Scripture tomorrow night to see that it is something that God designed for us and for our good, but He designed it for the marriage relationship between a man and a woman. And that it cautions us all throughout Scripture to not take sex outside of that context, because when we do, it only brings about pain in our lives and destruction in our lives, because that's what sin does. And so we're going to talk a little bit about putting up guardrails in our lives, how we need to have measures in place and commitments in place so that when we walk into a situation where we might be getting close to being tempted to engage in that stuff, we can know what we need to do to stay away from it so that we can honor God and be obedient to Him and also live life the way that He called us to, because we know that that is the best thing for us. And so we're going to close out the night in a really simple way. For students that may have fallen to that temptation and engaged in that stuff, I'm going to let them know that there is forgiveness because of Jesus and who He is and what He has done. They can start anew tomorrow night. And then for all of our students, whether they have done that or not, I'm going to ask them tomorrow night to start praying through what it means to make a commitment, a covenant with God, to make sure that they are waiting until they are married to the spouse that God has for them to engage in that so that they can experience what God has created for their good and for His glory. And so as you continue this next week, over the next few days, I just have a couple of things I would love for you to discuss with your student to continue that conversation at home. I would encourage you to be honest with your student. What are some ways that you may have slipped up in your teenage years in that area that you can share with them? Because we know that if you are open and honest with them, then they will in turn feel safe to be open and honest with you. And that's the relationship that we want you to have. So what are the things in your life that you might have given into temptation that you know that was not what God designed it for? And then also I want you to take a look at it as parent and student. Man, what are the guardrails that you have in your life? And what are the ways that you are going to set up to make sure that you are protecting yourself and protecting your future marriage relationship by not engaging in these things? I want this to be a beneficial conversation. I want it to be a healthy conversation because instead of telling students just don't do that thing, don't do that thing, don't do that thing, and we know from even when they're little, when we tell them no, not to do something, of course they're going to be curious about it. And so instead of taking that approach, I want to say to them that this is a good thing that God created, but He created it for a specific context, and we want to honor Him in that, because when we do, it's for our good and for His glory. And so as we approach this conversation, if you have any questions about what I'm going to be doing tomorrow night and what we're going to be talking about, please don't hesitate to reach out. But make sure that you're having conversations with your children at home. Make sure that you are engaging this and taking this open door to have fruitful and beneficial conversations with them so that they can grow in their relationship with Jesus and you can grow in your relationship with one another. I'm looking forward to what God is going to do tomorrow night.